Hello friends, here is a new story. I hope you all like the video and subscribe to my channel. Now here is summary. When they were mortal they were in love, now they are gods that are twins with a child. What will Artemis and Apollo do when the lines are not so simple anymore? Naruto will still be a Jinchuriki but will be raised by the twin archers in the PJO world, not Kahona. Please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Chapter 25 Naruto meets Sally Jackson. Naruto shockingly returned in a flash of light in the god's throne room where a surprised Percy let a sigh of relief upon the blonde-haired boy return. Artemis was suspiciously scrutinizing Percy before her baby returned, where she whipped her head so fast Percy swore she had two heads for a moment. Naruto! Artemis shouted in joy as she scooped the dazed and still blushing Naruto into her arms once again. Hey mom! Naruto mumbled, still reeling from Hira's unexpected kiss and acceptance as her champion. Both of these events were definitely on the bottom of what he expected from a private meeting from the Queen of Olympus. Apollo looked at Naruto strangely as Percy inched away from the happy family. Artemis hugged Naruto tightly for another minute before she noticed that Naruto looked rather flustered and pulled away. What's wrong? Artemis asked in pure concern, grasping her son's shoulders and looking into his eyes. Nothing, Naruto said quickly as Artemis' eyes narrowed. Did that woman do something to you? Artemis asked suspiciously. Percy looked at Apollo, who looked concerned but less angry than Artemis. Who is Lady Artemis talking about? Percy asked, knowing despite being friends with Naruto he shouldn't call Artemis too informally. Apollo turned to Percy and sighed. Lady Hera. Apollo said simply as Percy's eyes widened. Hera? Isn't she the ultra-jealous angry queen of the gods who hates all of Zeus's kids including Artemis and Apollo? Percy thought in fear. Naruto refused to meet his mother's eyes until she used one hand to hold his cheek, forcing him to look her in the eyes. Naruto, no matter what threats or words she used against you, you can tell us anything, Artemis insisted as Naruto shook his head. Lady Hera didn't threaten me. She made me her champion, Naruto declared, much to the shock of everyone there. Almost as if Hera heard him, a peacock appeared on top of his head in a way suggesting a claiming. She did what? Artemis hissed as she's still rather bitter towards Hera, and claiming her son in a way made her one of his pseudo-parents in a way. This changes things, Apollo mumbled as Percy looked confused. Sorry to interrupt, still new to the whole god thing, what does Hera making Naruto a champion mean? Percy asked as everyone turned to the son of Poseidon. Naruto smiled and walked over to his friend, patting him on his shoulder. I suppose you could say Lady Hera grants me a portion over her powers and domains, and in return I might be asked to do an errand or two for her in the future, Naruto explained as Apollo and Artemis frowned. And too, Percy's eyes widened to watermelons as Naruto gave him a chuckle. So what kind of powers do you have? Percy asked eagerly as Naruto put a hand to his chin. Honestly, I am not sure. Lady Hera is not one of the combat Olympians and she does not have well-known domains, Naruto admitted as both him and Percy turned to a sour-faced Artemis and stoic Apollo. She can cook a decent steak, Artemis said flatly as Apollo and Naruto's sweat dropped. Naruto turned to his father, who also looked a bit confused. Honestly, Naruto might get Hera's food production ability or perhaps the ability to talk her sacred animals such as peacocks and cows, Apollo noted as Naruto nodded. Percy just stood there awkwardly as the family of three was chatting intensely, and Naruto could sense his friend feeling like a third wheel, so he smiled. Percy, I think we owe your mom a visit, Naruto told Percy cheerfully as Percy's eyes widened. My mom? Percy stuttered as Naruto nodded. Yep. After you left the underworld, I made Lord Hades promise to release her if we got his Helm of Darkness back for him, Naruto told him gently as Percy looked a bit skeptical. Hades? The guy who threatened to cause WW3? Percy asked as Naruto sighed. Percy Jackson. I know our uncle has a less than clean reputation. However, Hades does keep his word, Artemis said with a sigh that Percy nearly chuckled was the same as her son's. Before Percy could voice his thoughts, Apollo added, matter of fact, he is the only one who has kept his oath to not have children after World War II. Percy's face got flustered as he realized he was a direct result of his father cheating on both his wife and his sacred oath as a member of the Big Three. Naruto gave him a sympathetic look before patting him on the shoulder. Anyways, Dad, I think Percy has waited enough, Naruto said as Apollo nodded. Right. Sally Jackson, Apollo said as he closed his eyes in concentration before he opened them with a grin. There she is. Safe and sound as promised. Apollo said. He gave them a thumbs up. Artemis leaned into Naruto and whispered into his ear, your father would have likely tried to seduce her if Uncle had not first. Apollo heard that and got annoyed, and Percy got a creeped out look when he heard his mother was sought out by more than one god. Artemis, our son is the only one I need anymore. I told you both that this family here is all I need. Apollo said with determined eyes. I know. I was merely jesting, my brother. Artemis told him warmly as Naruto grinned at his dad. We know. I love you too, Dad. Naruto said simply as Apollo's smile grew bigger again. Percy had a smile at the family warmness and started to think that they must be what gods could be like if they were able and wanted to raise their children. After a moment, Apollo snapped his finger and Percy vanished in a flash of sunlight. Naruto took his parents' hands into his own as Artemis nodded and they vanished in a beam of moonlight. Naruto and his parents in front of an apartment building with a wide-eyed Percy who looked rather nervous. Well, that sucked less than the first time I went through godly teleportation. Percy mumbled as Naruto gave a dry laugh while Apollo looked rather amused. Is my mom really here? Percy asked desperately as Apollo nodded but held a dark smile. Yes, however, she is not alone. Apollo pointed out as Percy quickly ran ahead, unlocking the door behind him. Mom! Percy yelled as he opened the door to see his wide-eyed mother, who sprinted and caught her son in an embrace. Percy, my baby? You are all right? Sally cried as she held her son tightly, who hugged her back just as tightly. After a few minutes of hugging, they heard an annoyed grunt as they let go to see Gabe glaring at Percy with an annoyed glare that was both full of hatred and gloating. Hey! No hug for your father? How rude. Gabe mocked as he even raised his arms up as if daring Percy to come and go to him. Gabe, Percy growled, hating the man her mother was forced to marry to keep him safe. Whoa kid, no need for such a glare. I was so shocked and heartened to learn you both were alive. It made my heart grow 3 times bigger. Gabe claimed coldly, but everyone could hear the sheer disdain in his voice. Gabe, Sally said warily as Gabe looked her over with boredom. Sally, shut up. The man is talking. If you have time to hug your kid, you have time to make me a pot roast. Gabe mocked as Sally gripped her hands tightly and Percy's glare intensified. I don't see a man here. Only a pig that can talk. A female voice said coldly from the doorway. Nah, pigs can at least learn. It seems he's more a maggot. A male voice joked with a dark tone. Who was there? I will not be mocked in my house by anyone. Gabe raged with his face red with anger. Naruto and his parents walked in the door with cool faces. Gabe's expression turned from pure anger to pure lust when he saw Artemis. Holy shit. This bitch is 1,000 hotter than the sluttiest hooker. The face, that body, that expression. I need her on her back moaning my name now. Gabe thought perversely as he was practically drooling when he saw Artemis' eyes look at him as if he was a worm or worst. Sorry, I was yelling. I was unaware such a marvelous being was here in my home. Please let me introduce myself. I am Gabe. Gabe said with what he considered a charming voice. The effect was ruined as he was looking at Artemis' chest, much to her absolute disgust. Everyone in the room was even more disgusted when they could see the tent appearing in his pants and could almost smell the outright lust oozing from him. Disgusting, Artemis said with pure hatred as she looked ready to incinerate the man in front of her to ash. Oh, come on baby. You can leave these losers and join me in my bedroom and see what a real man can do. Gabe claimed, licking his lips, making everyone shudder. Naruto and Artemis were about to summon some, throwing knives into Gabe's face, but before even they could react, everybody just saw a blur. Apollo had dashed forward and sent a punch into Gabe's gut, making him cough up spit and blood. Before he could even get another word in, Apollo backhanded him in the face so hard it knocked several of his teeth out and was knocked unconscious as he slumped onto the ground. Never talk to her like that again. Apollo hissed with his eyes like daggers as Artemis put a hand on his shoulder. It's okay, Artemis told him softly, and those 2 words managed to calm him down. A what? Sally said with wide eyes as she stared at Apollo and Artemis in shock. Forgive us. Sorry to barge in. Naruto is a friend of Percy's. My name is Minato Namikaze and this is Kushina Uzumaki. We are Naruto's parents. Apollo introduced, much to Percy's confusion. And 3. He was about to talk until he saw that Apollo and Artemis did not look how they did 10 minutes ago. Apollo had changed into a suit with his face a bit sterner with more narrow blue eyes. Artemis no longer had an auburn ponytail but had bright red hair that flowed freely down her back with her violet eyes instead of silver. She also had a form-fitting business suit that not deter much from her still natural beauty. "Nice to meet you, Ms. Jackson. It's a pleasure," Naruto said with a bow and warm smile as Artemis nodded politely. "My lady, my lord. Please forgive me for not recognizing you before." Sally apologized as she got in front of her knees in front of the disguised gods. I see clear-sighted, huh? So, you can tell our true forms?" Apollo said with a curious expression. "Yes, Lord Apollo and Lady Artemis. I could see Poseidon's true nature when we met, but my vision is not as strong as when I was young," Sally admitted as Artemis gave her a nod. "Rare but not unprecedented for mortals to see past the mist," Artemis remarked as Percy blinked as if he realized something. "Wait, you said parents, does that mean?" Sally said with even wider eyes as she stared at Naruto as if appreciating he was there for the first time. "Yes, Mom. May I introduce Naruto Uzumaki, the first and only child of Apollo and Artemis. Pretty cool, huh?" Percy said with a joking tone as Naruto rubbed his head in embarrassment. "Let me explain," Naruto offered to the confused woman. Naruto once again patiently spent the next several minutes explaining about the alternate world, which he referred to as the elemental earth as reference to the 5 main elemental chakra natures. His parents also helped by piping in certain facts, although they did refer to their alternate selves in third person. To say Sally was shocked would be an understatement. Poseidon did tell me about the oath of the Big Three when we were together, and we knew it would be breaking that oath, but to think a child of Lady Artemis could be born in such a way, Sally said in awe as Naruto smiled and chuckled nervously. To me they have always been Mom and Dad, not powerful gods," Naruto said as Apollo and Artemis beamed at him, making Sally blink several times, especially when she saw such a caring expression on Artemis' face. "Don't worry, Mom. Everyone at camp still gets that way around Naruto," Percy whispered to his mom, who could only dumbly nod. "I could see why they would be a bit flustered around him." "And you say they are with him all the time?" Sally whispered in astonishment to Percy. Poseidon had been very clear all gods had to follow the divine laws to limit their interactions with their mortal children. "Yeah, from what I heard he lived with them up to a month before arriving at camp," Percy said with a very tiny hint of jealousy in his voice. Artemis heard their conversations and secretly frowned, but her expression remained happy for her son. Lady Artemis and Lord Apollo?" Sally asked with a slight bow as Apollo waved her off. "Hey, you don't need to be nervous around us. Your son is friends with ours, so there is no need to sit on formalities," Apollo said cheerfully as Artemis gave a small nod as well. "Correct. Our son is rather fond of Percy Jackson, so I suppose it would not do to call us complete strangers," Artemis added as Naruto gave Sally a wide smile. "Right. I shall keep it in mind," Sally said. "Never expected that," Sally added as an afterthought. "Why are you here?" "I mean, I am beyond honored, but usually gods do not visit mortals without a reason," Sally said carefully as Artemis and Apollo looked at each other. "'Cause our son asked us to come," they chanted as Naruto coughed nervously. "I mean, I could tell how much Percy missed his mom, so I thought it would be a nice icebreaker and a good way to introduce ourselves," Naruto asked, "Abbot embarrassed." This did not help when Artemis bent down to Naruto's level and rubbed his whiskered cheek, smiling widely at him. "What a good boy you are," Artemis said sweetly as she rubbed his cheek gently. "Mom." Naruto wailed as his face grew red at the affection, but he notably did not lean away from her touch. Apollo grinned at his son's embarrassment while Percy and Sally shared looks of both amusement and disbelief. A minute later Apollo coughed as everyone looked at him. "Now what to do with that?" Apollo asked in disgust as he tilted his head at Gabe's unconscious form. Well, Sally said with notable discomfort. "We should end his life in a painful way," Naruto said bluntly as Percy and Sally looked wide-eyed at him. "Naruto, you are talking about ending a mortal's life?" Percy yelled as he stared at Naruto's remarkably cold and bored eyes. "And?" Naruto asked flatly as if that concept was rather trivial to him. "Percy, the world I was born in would consider killing a necessary evil. This man is scum. He lusted after my mother, and I could tell from his emotions he sees Ms. Jackson as nothing but a slave, if not a way to relieve himself," Naruto said coldly as Percy gulped. "I mean, it's not untrue, but still," Percy admitted, looking away. "Please wait. Gabe is scum, but I need him for Percy's sake," Sally shouted as Artemis and Apollo sighed. I see, so you married this creature to keep your son's demigod scent masked. A worthy woman indeed, Artemis mused as Sally blinked at the compliment. Sorry to disappoint you, but now that your son knows he is a demigod, this man's scent will do little to nothing to hide his presence, Apollo revealed as Sally's eyes widened. However, there may be a way to mask or at least reduce his scent, Artemis revealed as everyone including Naruto looked at her in surprise. Really? There is? Naruto asked eagerly as Apollo gave his son a smile. A little project, although I can't promise it will work completely, Apollo admitted as he gestured to Percy. Percy, bring out Riptide in its pen form please, Apollo asked as Percy blinked in surprise. Right gods? Percy mumbled, realizing they must have seen him use the sword. Percy brought out his pen and Apollo quickly waved his hand and concentrated for a moment. Riptide turned blue for a moment before it returned to its normal color as Percy brought it up, wondering what happened. I added a sort of magic on top of your sword. As long as you are near it, it should reduce your demigod scent at least somewhat. I mean, monsters can still see you, but they won't be attracted to you instantly if you outside a barrier or a god's protection, Apollo added as Percy and Sally looked wide-eyed. Naruto then brought both his parents into a tight hug as they returned his embrace happily. You are the best ever, Naruto declared as Artemis and Apollo laughed. Worth it, Apollo stated as Artemis just smiled. After the hug ended, Naruto looked at his parents who nodded to him. Right, now for him. You might want to look away. It might get a bit gruesome, Naruto warned as Percy and his mother held each other's hand but shook their head. No, we have to see this through, Sally told Naruto as he nodded. Naruto quickly went through several hand signs as Gabe was lifted into the air and trapped in what appeared to be an air bubble. Naruto closed his eyes and concentrated as he went through several more hand signs while the bubble was still surrounding Gabe. Fire style, fire bubble jutsu, Naruto said as fire appeared inside the bubble and started to eat away at Gabe. Gabe woke up as he started to burn. Ow! What the hell is happening? Gabe screeched as he tried to run if not roll, but he was stuck inside the bubble, unable to do anything but pound against the invisible walls. Help me, Sally. I am your husband, Gabe demanded as the fire started to consume his foot and go up as he screamed in pain. Sally's eyes narrowed as she told him coldly. Sorry, but you were just a tool to me and now we are through, Sally said coldly as he got hysterical. You bitch. I may burn, but I will see you in hell, Gabe declared even as he screamed in pain at the fire burning him alive. And you bitch. I swear to God, you wish you became my whore, Gabe shouted in madness as Artemis waved her hand and somehow the pain intensified as if his eyes were boiling. Even thought he fire was still working up its way up his body. A few minutes later of his screaming and cursing before Gabe became nothing but ash, and even the ash was consumed, turning into atoms. Percy looked away, but he was very pleased the man who abused both his mom and him for so long was gone from this world. Sally had a grim but satisfied expression while Artemis and Naruto both held happy dark expressions which became pleased after a minute. Apollo's cruel smirk softened after a few minutes. And 4, Naruto whispered into Artemis's ear, who nodded. Ms. Jackson. I suppose we technically got you divorced, Artemis said coyly as Sally waved her hands. Wait, you don't have to, Sally tried to say, but Apollo held his hand up. We owe you compensation. Consider this your divorce payment, Apollo stated as a sheik appeared in his hand as he quickly signed it in mid-air. You don't have to, Sally said before Apollo shoved the sheik into her hands. Her eyes widened when she saw the amount. This is too much. I mean, it's more than enough to get a huge down payment on an apartment and even some college courses, Sally exclaimed as Percy looked wide-eyed as well as Naruto waved her off. Hey, my parents are nice and we did kill someone, so you know, Naruto said matter-of-factly. Little did anyone except Artemis and Naruto know Apollo actually had a legitimate book series based on Jiraiya's Ichi Ichi novels, which he had translated to multiple languages. Little to nobody's surprise, he racked in tons of money when using his Minato persona and signature. Artemis was exasperated about his hobby, but Apollo Joe claimed he wanted their son to have parents whom mortals could look up to. The exact details of what the books were was hidden from Naruto, but he nonetheless was impressed his father had a job, no matter how odd to him. The sheik was linked to one of Minato's personal bank accounts, and to his vast richness from a mortal job was not even a drop in the bucket for him. Percy, you will have to decide for yourself if you want to go back to camp after the summer is over or if you want to come back with your mother. Naruto informed him as Percy looked surprised as his mother gave him a warm smile. It's okay, Percy. You still have time. I will be happy no matter what you decide to do, Sally said warmly as Percy nodded uncertain. Artemis and Apollo looked at each other and told the children, "You need to transport yourselves back to camp. We will not be able to go with you as father wants our interference at the camp to a minimum," Artemis said with sadness as Naruto shook his head. "I understand. I shall see you soon," Naruto said as Artemis and Apollo nodded before giving one last hug to Naruto. Apollo gave a wave to Percy and Sally while Artemis nodded. They went out the door and vanished in beams of sunlight and moonlight as they teleported back to camp. "Ready? I will get us back the same way as my clone did to Annabeth and Grover," Naruto told Percy, who gave his mom one last hug. "Yeah. Let's go," Percy said as Naruto put a hand on his shoulder. "Till next time, Ms. Jackson," Naruto said with a wave as Sally blinked and the boys were gone in the next instant. I am glad Percy made such a good friend," Sally mused as she looked at the Sheik with newfound hope. Chapter 26. Meeting of two. Naruto and Percy reappeared just outside the camp borders as Percy gave Naruto a confused look. Why are we outside of camp? Can't you teleport inside? Or is it like Olympus where you can't leave marks inside the camp?" Percy asked as he looked around. Who knows?" Naruto remarked with a mysterious and mischievous smirk as Percy's sweat dropped. "And too, he really won't tell me, will he?" Percy thought as Naruto whistled. "Better that she go on without me," Naruto told him as he started to step back as Percy stopped. "What? Why?" Percy asked his friend, who gave him a sheepish smile. "Well, I did sneak on the quest and that is against camp rules," Naruto admitted as Percy frowned. "But you helped us so much. I mean, Ares would have probably killed us if you hadn't beaten him for us. Why shouldn't you get the credit for that part of the quest?" Percy demanded as Naruto shook his head. "I have my parents and my family with the hunt. I don't need hero worship from the campers," Naruto explained as he looked up at the sun with a smile. Percy was about to argue, but he realized his mom's opinion of him, and to a lesser degree his father's, meant more to him than having the camp recognize him as a hero. "But doesn't the camp already know you left? I mean, you are pretty popular," Percy pointed out as Naruto pouted. "It's not like I am intentionally trying to be popular. I am just nice," Naruto claimed as he hung his head down, making Percy's sweat drop. "Right. Handsome, good at everything. Guy is annoyed he attracts attention from everyone. I feel so bad for him," Percy thought rather sarcastically. "Anyways, who says I left the camp?" Naruto asked with a smirk as Percy raised an eyebrow. You? Being here right now," Percy pointed out as Naruto raised an eyebrow. "But Percy, Naruto Uzumaki has been at Camp Half-Blood since he set foot in there," Naruto told him as there was a puff of smoke and an identical smirking Naruto appeared and saluted. "Oh, that's right. You can do that shadow clone jutsu," Percy said in realization as both Naruto nodded before the one at the left disappeared, leaving the original. "Yep, got it in one. This jutsu is great if you need a stand-in for easy tasks. I mean, I wouldn't send a clone on the quest as it's pretty dangerous, but here a clone is more than sufficient," Naruto admitted, with his tone being slightly condescending and dismissive tone when talking about Camp Half-Blood. And 3, right, this guy is not the same as demigods. I guess to him what we do at camp is child's play for him, Percy thought, realizing that Naruto did not intentionally choose to be rude. He chose to take it as an explanation rather than being offended. "I left a clone behind before I left for the quest and he has been being me the entire time I was on the quest. So go on in and pretend to be in a daze. It's what my clone told Annabeth and Grover to act like, so it didn't look like I sent you back. It was a god who sent you 3 back after the quest was over and your chat with Lord Zeus and Lord Poseidon was over. Got it?" Naruto told him rather briskly as he was already walking away. "Oh, I will swap out with my clone, so don't worry, I am not going to leave or anything," Naruto assured him as he slipped past Percy and into the camp borders, being as stealthy as a breeze and as hard to spot as a shadow. "Please, Naruto, acting all tough," Kurama commented from inside Naruto head as Naruto eye twitched. "Do you have something to say, Kurama?" Naruto retorted as he was hiding in his cabin, which due to being magically protected only himself or a clone could even enter. Or other people like his sisters and Hestia, of course. You left a clone behind because you actually thought you could pull one over your parents. You was in your mother's cabin in camp, Kurama remarked with a massive toothy grin. Naruto actually rubbed his head in embarrassment. I mean, in theory, besides having far less chakra and not actually you and them, shadow clones are essentially extensions of me, Naruto said, trying to hide his embarrassment. Of course, as soon as he actually snuck out, his parents had sensed him and his dad caught up to him a few miles outside of the camp even when he tried to use chakra mode to run as quick as possible. Well, those brats called demigods were fooled, so I suppose it did accomplish part of the job, Kurama grunted with a yawn. Naruto glanced and saw his shadow clone following from behind the crowd as the camp were hosting Percy, Annabeth and Grover as the camp's heroes for completing an important quest. Naruto sent a pulse of chakra to his shadow clone, who blinked as in a simple instant him and his clone swapped positions, so the real Naruto was now in the crowd while his clone just shrugged and disappeared. So besides it being relatively tense around here as the quest details were not revealed publicly till today, the camp itself was stable during his time away. Naruto thought as he sorted through his shadow clone who took his place in camp. Naruto resisted blushing and drooling like a horny idiot. As it turns out, Silena had for some reason found some free time and decided to have a water balloon fight with his clone. It would have been okay as his clone easily dodged any and all attempts of the daughter of Aphrodite trying to douse him. Except one of his clone's balloons actually exploded over Silena, much to his clone's dismay. Silena's body had gotten wet from the cold water and made her shirt and shorts cling to her developing body like a second skin, and it did not help. Silena made a show to wink and dry her hair in a very sexual manner in front of him. It ended with the clone watching Silena even as she walked away to get a fresh change of clothes, giggling and even blowing a kiss to the far too pleased clone. While Naruto was trying to not think of his friend in any kind of perverted way, the three official members of the quest were honored and given laurels to show their success over the quest. Naruto gave them a small smile and shook his head when the three of them looked at him with pity as if they wanted him to share in the celebration as a hero. Up on Olympus, the Olympians were gathered together in an informal meeting as Poseidon suggested they watch the celebrations if only to show their hidden support of the quest succeeding. Athena, however, accused Poseidon of gathering the council just to show off his son being the official leader of the quest. Your daughter is also being honored, Athena, so I don't quite see what the problem is, Poseidon commented while he smirked as he avoided her accusation rather smoothly. Athena gritted her teeth but said no more as she crossed her arms in annoyance. Yes, job well done, Hermes said politely, although he secretly was sad. If only Luke's quest ended like this, maybe he wouldn't hate me as much. Hermes thought sadly as he knew full well Luke blamed him for all his misfortunes in life. This included Luke's mother May losing her mind when she failed to become the next Oracle of Delphi. Ooh, Naruto is blushing. I wonder if he is now remembering my daughter's body? Aphrodite squealed in delight as she waved her hand casually. An arrow that was flying at her shoulder turned into dust as Artemis glared at her rival with annoyance. Your daughter should not flaunt her body, especially in front of my son. His innocent mind will be very confused. Artemis screeched, refusing to believe her beloved baby would have perverted thoughts at his young age. Apollo smirked as his beloved son was unintentionally gaining a harem whether Artemis liked or not. Don't be such a spoil sport. I mean, 2 of my daughters have already lined up for little Naruto's heart. It would be so cute if one or maybe both of them won his heart. They wouldn't even need to break his heart to make this perfect. Aphrodite noted with a squeal as she clasped her hands together as her eyes sparkled with amusement. Artemis' eyes grew cold as 5 arrows were turned to dust with a lazy wave of Aphrodite's hand. Your daughters break his heart. I break your soul. Artemis warned her with an icy tone as Aphrodite smirked. Noted. However, not even I can prevent true love from happening. Just ask Helen and Troy. Aphrodite remarked as she sighed in remembrance. Apollo scowled as their little romance would cause his favorite city of Troy to be burned to the ground and the lives of some of his favorite followers killed and sacked. Athena growled for a different reason. If that little harlot had done her job and stayed with Menelaus, then those people could have stayed Trojan. We not have those disgusting Romans be born from the ashes. Athena hissed in anger and hate. And 4. Hera had a secret frown as despite her plans for Naruto, she did actually have a soft spot for the young mortal. She did consider him as much her own child as Hestia clearly did for Naruto. Zeus had a small smirk on his face as he would not judge Naruto if he did have multiple women, although he was careful not to voice this opinion to his already irate daughter. Poseidon coughed as he pointed at the mist screen. As fun as this is, it looks like the celebrations will happen soon, Poseidon pointed out as he got the council back on track. Ares was in an unusually quiet mood as even he knew not to push his luck. His father had threatened to send him to Tartarus the next time he stepped out of line, so even Ares knew he was on thin ice. That brat, that power he used. He is dangerous, but he is unlikely to go against us, Ares thought as he sat glumly in his throne. His little stunt, mostly him actually trying to kill Naruto, made him on thin ice with Aphrodite as well, who refused to let him in her bed. Died, as he liked to call her, had coolly told him that Naruto was off limits as he would have the most interesting love life in recent times. Ares had wisely chosen to stay quiet and avoid drawing attention to himself. In 5, teehee. My little godson really does bring out such interesting reactions from my family, Hester thought rather happily from inside the hearth. Back at camp, Half-Blood, well done Percy, Annabeth and Grover. Knew you had in ya? Naruto cheered as he clapped the three questers on the shoulders as his eyes sparkled in warning. It's better this way. I don't want a chip on my shoulder, and you did do the main parts of the quest. Naruto's eyes seemed to say as they gave him very discreet nods. Yes, well done. To our first campers to complete a quest in many years. Chiron's voice boomed as Naruto stepped back to allow the three questers to be crowned with a laurel. Percy was annoyed and disappointed that somehow the camp had started rumors he had somehow defeated Ares to get Hate's helmet back, earning the hatred of the Ares cabin. He honestly did not care about the hate part as he was already on sour terms with Cabin 5, but he hated that Naruto was okay leaving out as a part of the quest. Naruto had beaten a god, but nobody besides them, and probably the gods, had even known. Percy learned it was camp tradition to make burial shrouds for the questers in case they did not make it back alive. He was not quite sure why he was pleased or annoyed they had taken precautions in case they failed the quest. Annabeth's shroud was made from her cabin mate, so it was beautiful gray with the owls symbolizing Athena. Percy had joked that it was too bad she could not be buried in it, earning a smile from Naruto and a punch in the arm from Annabeth. Grover's shroud was made by the nymphs and was a simple wooden tree trunk which was in the middle of rotting along with dead leaves. Naruto and Percy were both confused by it, but judging by Grover's happy tears it appeared he appreciated it. In 6, Percy had learned that Ares' cabin volunteered to make his shroud, and he heard it was going to be horrendous, showing their dislike of him, which he would be the first to admit was fairly mutual, but much to his, Annabeth and Grover's surprise it did not happen. Naruto, his shadow clone, had asked to make the shroud himself. His reasoning was that Percy was his friend and did not have cabin mates to do for him. The Ares cabin agreed to let Naruto do it when Naruto offered to back off if anyone had beaten him in a friendly hand-to-hand or sword spar. Of course, nobody had beaten Naruto and his message was spread. The questers all gasped when it was revealed to be a very beautiful light blue-green shroud that had simple waves designs and many discarded seashells adorning. Naruto just shrugged, claiming it was okay design and he had gone to a beach on a hunt or two before. Percy had to resist crying when he saw how it looked with Naruto just smiling at his friend. Percy was not happy he had to burn the shroud. A few weeks had passed, included the 4th of July fireworks, which Naruto strangely enough had both Annabeth and Selena share a blanket with him, much to his confusion. Annabeth had claimed she still owed him one, which he assumed was for his help on the quest. But Selena had just smiled coyly, asking if he didn't want to sit next to her, which he denied. Annabeth seemed to be a bit put off by his response, but they had sat together on one blanket. Grover had chuckled while Percy just smirked at his oblivious friend, while Drew and his suitors squealed in their hidden spot behind some trees. Before July ended, Percy and Naruto learned that a new end of summer camp bead was getting made and given to each camper to celebrate another year of being alive. Soon everyone gathered at the campfire where a smiling Luke held 2 necklaces with a single bead in it in his hands. It was a unanimous campo decision. A new bead to show the first son of Poseidon in over 50 years and the first mortal child of Artemis and Apollo, Luke declared as the camp cheered. Both Percy and Naruto happily took the necklaces and placed them over their necks. The bead had a small trident and a small moon and sun on the other side as the camp cheered. Even the Ares camp clapped, but sour expressions on their faces. Soon August pulled in, with Naruto visiting Thalia Tree at least once a week to give her updates. He was confused when she seemed a bit annoyed when he mentioned sitting on a blanket with Annabeth and Selena. However, he brushed it off as her being sad at not being there herself. Soon it was August and it was near time for the end of camp for the year. Naruto and Percy learned it was optional if you wanted to stay at camp or not for the year. However, you had to tell Mr. D and or Chiron beforehand or they would assume you were leaving and will destroy any belongings left behind. Naruto, Annabeth and Percy had gone to the camp's border to say goodbye to Grover. "Don't worry. I will find Pan and make satyrs proud everywhere," Grover told them as he packed his backpack full of tin cans and other things essentially. "Take care, man. I will see you next year?" Percy asked hopefully as he gave his friend a hug. "Of course. I am still you guys' friend so I will make sure I come back by next year," Grover assured them as Percy nodded and pulled away. Annabeth and Grover shared a tight hug as Grover was her oldest friend besides the tree Thalia and Luke who had become a bit distant since the quest had ended. "I will ask Mom if she knows anything about Pan. She is also a goddess of nature after all," Naruto assured Grover who looked like he won the lottery. "You will? Thank you so much," Grover said as he grasped Naruto's hands and shook them multiple times. "Also, can you ask what the hunter's favorite sleeping positions are and when they eat?" Grover asked excitedly as Naruto's eye twitched. "I am going to ignore the totally creepy obsession with my mom and sisters and pretend you did not ask that," Naruto said with his eye twitching much to Annabeth and Percy's amusement. Soon Grover left with a wave as he walked out of the camp. Naruto knew he was not as close to Grover as Annabeth and Percy were so him leaving was tough of them both. It was August 10th and roughly the last week of the summer camp when Percy was pacing in the dining hall much to Naruto's amusement. "You still can't decide, Percy?" Naruto asked as Percy kept glancing at the permission slip he would have to sign if he decided to stay at camp for the year. "Shut up. I know Annabeth is going away to try to give her mortal family another shot," Percy noted as Naruto nodded. Naruto was pleased Annabeth was convinced by Percy to give her mortal family another shot. "I am going back to the hunt," Naruto said with hesitation before Percy could actually ask. "Just like that?" Percy asked with a smile. "Just like that," Naruto confirmed before his expression softened. "Don't get me wrong. I like Camp Half-Blood but I love the hunt where my sisters and parents are," Naruto expressed as Percy nodded understanding. "Anyways, you only have a few days to decide, Percy. My advice is thinking of what you want most and go with that," Naruto offered as Percy nodded with a look of deep thought. They suddenly saw many male campers and even some annoyed female campers rush past them to go to the training area. "Hey! What's with the rush?" Naruto shouted to one of his paternal brothers. "Rumor has it a really hot girl is in the training area and she's just so icy," he said with hearts in his eyes. He then ran past Percy and Naruto who exchanged strange looks. "Any idea who he is talking about?" Percy asked as he walked with Naruto. "I would say it would be one of my hunter sisters like Zoe but they don't come to camp by themselves and would certainly not wait for a crowd of campers to surround them," Naruto offered as he frowned. They soon entered the training area which was filled with dozens of male and female demigods as they slipped through till they were in the front. "Wait, this is..." Kurama thought with wide eyes as Naruto got closer to the girl. Percy, like all males in the crowd, had their jaws drop when they saw the girl for the first time. Beautiful would not be correct way to describe the girl. Gorgeous and fierce would be much more apt to describe the girl. Sitting on a log with her arms crossed and an annoyed icy glare on her expression was a gorgeous girl. She seemed at least a few years older than all the campers, being almost 20 with her mature face and curves to show her mature figure. She had somewhat dark blonde hair tied in a long ponytail reaching her well-formed bum with a simple white ribbon. She had light skin and a tall figure towering over the campers but a few inches at least. She wore a metal headband on her forehead with a Japanese-looking symbol, which said Cloud, along with dark almost black eyes that were narrowed in a glare at the gawking campers. She had a very beautiful face with dark red lipstick which made her face stand out even more as she looked coldly at her audience. She had a nice hourglass figure with large breasts which were fully formed and large even in her shirt and a small waist and wide hips. She nice long legs which looked skinny but strong. She had chosen to wear a simple black top that stretched over her large breasts and blue jeans which accented her long legs. She topped off her outfit with dark blue sandals that showed off her toes. The thought in every male mind was, who is this girl? She is more pretty than Aphrodite girls, due to her maturity and body. However, Naruto's eyes were wide with recognition. "Yujiro?" Naruto asked as Yujiro snapped her attention to Naruto, much to the disappointment of the guys in the crowd. Yujiro turned warm with a huge smile as she saw and heard Naruto. "Naruto, we meet again," Yujiro said with a warm smile as enjoyed the shocked expression on his face. "What?" everyone else shouted as the two blondes appeared to know each other, especially when Yujiro's expression turned a 180 for him. After 27 Two Tails and Nine Tails meet again, Yujiro hopped off the log and walked to Naruto with the same smile as Naruto still looked shocked at her being there. "What are you doing here?" Naruto asked with wide eyes as Yujiro gave a playful smirk, making some of the boys blush while even some girls could not hold their envy of Yujiro. "Ah, you already tired of me already, Naruto? I am a bit hurt as one of the first time we met you crawled onto my lap and took a nap on it," Yujiro teases with a dramatic sigh. "What?" Selena hissed as her blue eyes narrowed in anger while even Annabeth seemed a tad annoyed. "Life is not fair," an Aries boy said in envy. Naruto's cheeks turned pink as he shook his head. "I was only 5 back then. I was a child," Naruto retorted as he was teased constantly by his hunter sisters. He was very cuddly, especially in his toddler years. Yujiro gave a small giggle into her hand as she winked at Naruto playfully. "Ah, this is cute. To me you are still a child, but I have got to say you have grown up quite a bit since we last spoke," Yujiro admitted as she looked at Naruto carefully. Naruto, who is this woman?" Selena asked with a strained smile as she resisted hissing at this notable, beautiful and mature woman. Drew's grin almost split apart her face as she could easily sense her older sister's jealousy. "Not that I blame her though. I mean that blondie really is everything. I mean she is tall, busty and has a certain charm that even I don't think me or sis have yet." Drew thought with amusement. "Oh, everyone, this is Yujiro Ni of the Hidden Cloud. She is a Kunoichi from the Elemental Nations," Naruto introduced while Yujiro gave a polite but notably bored wave. "Hello campers of Camp Half-Blood. Pleasure to meet Naruto's friends and extended family," Yujiro said as she had a small smile that still left many male campers breathless. Meanwhile on Olympus, "What you mean that beauty of a girl who is an OT? My daughter is a ninja as well," Aphrodite screeched in surprise. To her she would have claimed her as a child of her own due to her sheer good looks if she was not 100% sure she was not her child. "Is she one of yours? She does have the blonde look going on," Poseidon suggested with a small smirk as Athena's eyes narrowed. "No, Calpad, she is not one of my daughters. Did you forget only Artemis and Apollo have gone to that world and had a single child?" Athena said coolly, although she silently was fuming. Yujiro Ni appeared to be an ideal daughter in her own opinion. Hermes, Ares and even Hephaestus were whistling in appreciation of the girl's natural beauty, and even her cool attitude was considered a rather attractive skill. "Care to explain this?" "As far as I was aware, only Apollo and Artemis can bring people over from the Elemental Nations," Athena asked as she gave Artemis and Apollo sharp looks. Artemis and Apollo shared a quick look before Apollo nodded. "Yujiro Ni is the current Two Tails Jinchuiki and we brought her here," Artemis confirmed as everyone was on edge as even Poseidon grasped his trident with a stern look. "And two, I am sure you are aware that Jinchuiki can tip the scale, especially compared to demigods. I am surprised my brother has not ordered you to return her instantly," Poseidon noted as everyone turned to Zeus, who sighed. "Of course, my children told me when they brought her over and I agreed. Yujiro Ni shall be under the custody of Artemis and Apollo and will be allowed to travel with Naruto Uzumaki," Zeus revealed as the twins nodded. "As long as she is only a guest under Artemis' supervision similar to her hunters and is not given the possibility of immortality like the hunters, I can accept her presence," Zeus added with a small frown at Artemis, who resisted rolling her eyes. "I am well aware, father, and have already given my word that Yujiro Ni will not be offered the pledge to myself as a hunter," Artemis said dutifully with a slight sigh. Poseidon and the other members could barely resist rolling their eyes as it was fairly blatant. Although Zeus claimed to trust Artemis, he would not accept the possibility of a Jinchuiki of gaining partial immortality without his direct say-so. "Although I can understand why. Jinchuiki are supposed to be mortal, so the tailed beast cannot be held by one person forever. Same as him after all," Poseidon noted as despite Naruto's loyalty to his parents, he knew Zeus would not accept him gaining the eternal life of a hunter. And 3. However, like their children, her actions will be reflected onto Artemis and Apollo, and anything she does that is out of line will be their responsibility," Zeus said sternly as they both bowed. "Of course, father," We are aware. The twins repeated as the tension faded when Poseidon laughed. Well, not that settled. I suppose I can sleep easier if the Two Tails is with Naruto. Poseidon said with a chuckle. Athena raised an eyebrow. Why are you so calm about this? We cannot be sure that the Two Tails is loyal to Olympus or not, Athena noted as Poseidon shrugged. I like their child, and if their judgment says she will not harm us or our children, then you shall hear not complaints from me. Poseidon said easily. Well, I suppose if father and uncle are fine with that girl coming here, I suppose we should be, Hephaestus gruffly said as Hermes and Ares nodded. Ares resisted his natural urge to fight the beautiful blonde, if not try to seduce her, as he knew it would definitely gain his father ire, especially from his actions in almost causing World War III. Demeter shrugged her shoulders. She is not my child, so matter little if she stays in our world or not. Dionysus after all will be one in charge of her while she stays at Camp Half-Blood. Demeter remarked as everyone's eyes widened. I suppose with both Chiron and Dionysus at camp she shouldn't be an issue. Hermes noted as they looked at the wine god empty seat. Eugenie shall be an interesting case. I suppose if Naruto can trust her, I see no reason why we should interfere, Hera said with a small smile. Several of Zeus's children gave Hera a weird look, especially when she said Naruto. Her eyes seemed to brighten slightly. That woman better not forget whose child is down there. Artemis thought furiously as she was still not happy with the idea of her children being tied down to Hera as her champion. Hermes, you made sure to hide Naruto's involvement with Ares, correct? Apollo said sharply. His normal cheerful blue eyes were narrowed, making everyone shudder besides Poseidon, Zeus and Artemis. Artemis was quick to note when it came to their son some of Minato's battle instincts bleed through. Don't worry about it, bro. D and I already set it up with Chiron, and Percy Jackson was credited with Ares' defeat, Hermes assured his older brother with a nervous chuckle. TCH. That brat would have died 5 times over if Uzumaki had not interfered. Ares scoffed, ignoring the frown from his uncle. Poseidon sighed. As much as he wanted Percy to get recognition, he also knew defeating Ares would make him more a target in the future. Well, that matter was settled, Zeus decreed as Hera rolled her eyes. Yeah, you definitely did not roll on your stomach when your favorite daughter and son demanded Naruto officially was only at Camp Half-Blood. Hera thought with amusement. The council had decided that it would open too many cans of worms if Naruto involvement in the quest was known, so Hermes had subtly spread rumors that Percy Jackson was the one to defeat Ares. Being a son of the big three, the rumor was easily believed. Back at Camp Half-Blood, everyone glanced at the sky, much to Jito's amusement, as if they expected the gods to be angry. Oh, don't worry about it. Lady Artemis and Lord Apollo already cleared it with Lord Zeus, so my arrival will not cause any problems, Jito said with a wave of her hand. She's right. Father was fully aware of the situation and has approved her being a ward of Artemis and Apollo. Dionysus said gruffly as Chiron nodded. Jito turned back to the still shocked Naruto and gave him a wide grin. So Naruto, have your skills improved? You haven't gotten stale while being your parents, have you? Jito teased as her lips turned into a playful smirk, making several boys shudder at the sight. Naruto's eyes narrowed as he glared up at the taller blonde. Excuse me? I will have you know I am definitely being keeping up with my training, Naruto retorted as Jito raised an eyebrow. Oh? This looks like a kiddie camp rather than any serious kind of training area, Jito pointed out with a slight dismissive tone, making several campers, particularly Athena and Ares kids, to hiss and glare at the older blonde for the slight against their home. Okay, she's getting a curse. I just to ask an Apollo kid for help, or maybe Llewellyn can help? Annabeth thought viciously as her eyes narrowed. In her mind, nobody could disrespect Camp Half-Blood in front of her. A certain goddess of love smirked as Athena narrowed her eyes. Is something the matter, Seafoam? Athena asked coldly while Aphrodite just smirked. Oh, nothing. Just enjoying how our young can deny what's right in front of them. It's half the fun of finding love after all, Aphrodite claimed as she winked at Artemis and Athena, making them hiss. So easy. Athena's brat, what's her name again? Annabelle? Right, Annabeth. She will turn into a looker a few years along the line, and her jealousy of the Nibi Jinchuriki is absolutely delicious. Aphrodite thought happily as a glare from Zeus prevented the virgin goddesses from storming her throne in anger. Aphrodite gently blew on her perfect pink nails as if to dry them as she watched the camp with a smile. Almost as delicious as my own daughter. My dear Silena is trying to put her stake into the blonde superstar, and I approve. However, not even my own daughter will have an easy time when it comes to little Naruto. Aphrodite noted, as goddess of love she can have a general idea on an ideal match for mortals and for, but Naruto Uzumaki was rather special. Quite a mystery. Even if he was born from Artemis, he should still have one ideal match, but I cannot pinpoint it down. Perhaps his ideal match is many? Aphrodite noted thoughtfully. Well, Yujiro, how about I show you my skills here and now? Naruto challenged, as his eyes sparkled in excitement as Yujiro grin grew. Let's go, Naruto. Maybe something besides your hair and eyes have changed since the last time we trained together? Yujiro teased as she laughed softly at Naruto's slight red face. I know it's been a few years, but somehow Yujiro has become far more annoying. Naruto thought, annoyed, not realizing part of the problem was his hormones was trying to act in front of the much more mature Yujiro ni. Chiron turned to Mr. D, who looked thoughtful before nodding. Fine. You brats can have your fight, but don't come crying to me if you lose a hand or two. Mr. D stated with a bored expression. Dionysus snapped his finger as a poof of cloud appeared around the camp. A few moments later, the campers were now seated in something resembling a coliseum, with them sitting in massive stands while Yujiro and Naruto stood in a massive area filled with trees and open area. It also had a lake in the distance. Annabeth was seated next to Silena, which neither noticing that they were staring at Naruto intently. Claris was a few seats away, grinning at the fight. Finally, we shall see what these so-called ninjas can do. Claris thought savagely. Listen up, brats. This entire area is surrounded with a massive barrier to contain any stray attacks. The lake and trees are not full of life, as I do not want anyone to complain if they are damaged, Dionysus declared loudly as everyone started to clap. I don't want your parents crying about you being incinerated from a stray attack from two Jinchuuriki. Mr. D grumbled, making Chiron smile slightly. Yujiro and Naruto blinked before they turned to Dionysius and bowed. Thank you, Lord Dionysus, for your generosity. Yujiro and Naruto chanted respectfully. Mr. D blinked before a hint of smile appeared before his bored expression reappeared. Go, Naruto. Percy cheered as he was sorted to the back with Luke next to him with a smile. However, Luke's eyes were seething with hatred. Damn it all, those cheers and attention. To that cursed freak and that wannabe who doesn't even have godly blood in her. Luke thought angrily as this attention he believed was being squandered on the few instead of the many for demigods in general. You ready, Naruto, to give them a show? Yujiro teased as Naruto sent her a grin. Well, as my elder ninja, you better not cry when I surprise you, Naruto retorted as Yujiro eyes glittered with excitement. Begin, Mr. D shouted as he put his hand down. Yujiro and Naruto instantly rushed towards each other, and before else could react there was a kunai in Naruto left hand and Yujiro right hand as they clashed. Clang, clang, clang. The two blades sang as they clashed before Naruto and Yujiro were locked in a contest of strength as sparks appeared from the two blades pushing against each other. Amazing. That was not any form of magic. Those knives appeared in their hands using their own hand speed. Llewellyn informed, as being a daughter of Hecate she could detect when magic was used or enchanted, like when Riptide changed forms from pen to sword. Not bad, Naruto, but did you forget? Yujiro asked as her grin turned to a smirk. Naruto's eyes widened when Yujiro left hand pointed at him, and suddenly her nails expanded at rapid rate as Naruto ducked before flipping away as she swung her hand downwards as her nails followed as if a sword. What is that? Annabeth shouted in amazement as Yujiro chased after Naruto. Naruto's silver sword appeared in his right hand as he used both blades to counter Yujiro's swings with her extended nails and kunai. Clang, 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 clang. The weapons sang as Naruto and Yujiro's hands appeared to be nothing but blurs, much to the amazement of the camp as rapid sparks appeared from the clashing. Her nails are keeping up with Naruto's sword, Kate Gardner noted as Yujiro's nails appeared to clash evenly with Naruto's own sword. This continued on for a few minutes as both Naruto and Yujiro had perfect counters for each of the other amazing swordsmanship. However, eventually one of them would have to give. Naruto narrowly avoided one of Yujiro's nails from slashing his face by tilting his head, but he was not prepared for the kick from the much taller woman. Oomph! Naruto yelped as he was sent flying from the power of the kick to his unguarded stomach. Naruto recovered in midair before he landed gracefully but put a hand on his stomach in pain. Oh, I forgot how powerful Yujiro is in close combat, Naruto mumbled as Yujiro looked rather impressed. Oh, Naruto, Kurama grumbled as Naruto winced. What, Kurama? Naruto mumbled. In close combat you are at a disadvantage as Yujito has longer range, and despite how much better you are than these kitties, she is still better swordsman than you are in your base state, Kurama noted as he rested his head on his hand. I know those nails can be retracted and retracted so quickly they mess up the flow of my kinjutsu, Naruto admitted. AN5, color me impressed. Besides Master B and Lord Raikage, nobody else in Kumo can stand a chance against me in close combat, Yujito whistled. B? Raikage? One of Naruto's Apollo siblings asked in confusion. But how was your ninjutsu? Yujito asked as she took a breath. She leapt high into the air and aimed at Naruto. This chakra, it's... Naruto shouted as he quickly did hand signs. Fire style, blue fireball jutsu. Yujito thought as she opened her mouth. A massive fireball shot out of her mouth and expanded, being several times bigger than her frame. My gods! That is super big! Somebody from Hermes' cabin shouted, possibly Connor, while everyone instinctively inched away. Bro, I think that is way huger than any of our siblings born with firepower can do. Nissa mumbled to her older brother Charles. So, this is the power of ninjas. Charles mumbled with fear. Naruto. Selena and Annabeth shouted with fear. In that case, Earth style, giant mud wall jutsu. Naruto shouted as he placed both his hands on the ground. Instantly a massive wall of earth appeared out of the ground in a shield in front of him. The brown shield was several dozens of feet wide and dozens of feet tall as a massive blue fire crashed into the brown shield. There was a clash of wills between the two Jinchuriki as the fire tried to overcome the earth but failed to. However, despite the fireball failing to breach the shield, the fire created a heat wave which spread across the camp and arena area. Instantly everyone started to sweat from the heat as everyone tried to fan themselves out. That fire must be insanely hot for us to feel it from all the way here, Annabeth noted as she frowned. Must mean it is much hotter for Naruto down there taking the blunt of it, Selena added nervously. Naruto meanwhile was using a small amount of wind chakra around himself to keep him from sweating, although he was wincing from the effort. Would the gods blue fire? Hephaestus grumbled, although with a hint of annoyance. Everyone turned to the twin archers who sighed. As far as we can tell, it's a special trait exclusive to Two-Tails Jinchuriki. Neither Minato nor Kushina encountered any other ninjas being to produce blue fire regardless of users. Artemis said flatly, intentionally using her mortal name to keep a distance between her and that woman. I see. So, they can control elements to such a degree using this chakra inside of themselves, and based on your statements it's not genetic like our children's domains. Athena noted with a twinkle in her eyes. That's right. Most adults in the ninja war can at least do 2 of the 5 main elemental chakra natures. One is usually an affinity from birth and others can be learned through practice. Apollo added with a serious expression as he watched his son battle his fellow Jinchuriki. Is this seriously still just a practice fight? Demeter asked with a frown as it seemed rather intense in her opinion. They are not using tailed beast chakra at the moment, so it is not serious, Artemis claimed, although she was gripping her throne rather hard. If it comes to the point where they think using their tailed beast chakra is okay, I expect you to stop the match, Zeus asked firmly as Artemis and Apollo nodded. Are all ninjas as strong as them? Poseidon asked with a raised eyebrow. No, Yujito and Naruto are exceptionally strong even by most ninja standards, Apollo assured his uncle, who nodded. Back at camp, after a few seconds of intense heat, the fire finally dissipated as Naruto let out a sigh of relief. Naruto heard whistling and felt some warmth from fire as he backflipped, avoiding 1 blue mice from each side of his earth wall. The mice had ran around the wall and rushed towards Naruto and exploded, which Naruto avoided with his backflip. Damn! It's Yujito's mouse hairball, Naruto noted as he looked up at Yujito, who stood on top of a taller tree with dozens of her mice ready. Each mouse was blue like her blue fire and on fire as they stood on multiple trees. Yujito smirked before she tilted her head. Naruto instantly started to leap from tree to tree as several mice ran towards him. He avoided them by leaping to another tree just as they were about to bite him, forcing them to detonate. Naruto jumped and pivoted as he shot several silver arrows from his bow that appeared to have been summoned to his arm. He managed to hit several of them in the neck with his pinpoint accuracy, but soon dozens more mice chased after him, forcing him to leap away. These blue rats or mice or whatever are chasing Naruto and detonating on contact, so she can control them from a distance, Annabeth noted critically. Plus, She can summon so many. Running away is not a good strategy, Selena said, biting her lip. TCH. It's really annoying as Uzumaki is wasting all his time dodging while she can continue to sit there and aim those fire rats. Clarice grumbled, although a hint of respect could be heard about the older blonde. Okay, that's it. Water style, severing wave. Naruto shouted as he waved signs before he turned around. And 6. Naruto shot out from his mouth a massive stream of water which he controlled by moving his head. He sliced through many of the blue mice and even cut through a couple of trees, but he was forced to cancel the jutsu when several of the mice that avoided the wave swarmed him and he jumped away. Water style, Great Waterfall Jutsu. Naruto shouted as he waved different signs. He opened his mouth again, but this time a massive amount of water shot from his mouth in a form of a giant wave that spiraled. This wave was so big it shot through all the remaining blue mice and tore through trees and ground in its path of destruction. Yujiro made a sign and disappeared in a body flicker a great distance away before the wave could hit her. The waterfall continued its path of destruction for a bit before it settled calm down, leaving a giant trail of water and destruction. Oh my god. It's just like a natural hurricane, Travis said with his jaw dropped, which was matched by most of the camp. This reminds me when Uncle is having a spat or a bad day. Mr. D snorted with a hint of amusement. Naruto met Yujiro as he ran up to her with high-speed dash as they started a high-speed round of taijutsu. This hand-to-hand combat made the wrestling done with the Aries cabin look like a joke in comparison. It resembled more an elegant dance of punches, kicks and blocks that seemed to continue seamlessly. The two ninjas seemed just as comfortable using their hands and feet as most demigods were at their ideal weapon. This continued for a few minutes before Naruto was forced to jump back when she transformed her nails into her sharp extendable nails again. Naruto, are you ready? Kurama said from inside the seal as he had in a lotus position with his hands clapped together. Naruto nodded before he smirked at the amused Yujiro. It's about time for my counterattack, Naruto announced as he closed his eyes and took a breath. Yujiro took the instant to dash towards Naruto with her claws out, but to her surprise he sidestepped her attack with ease as his eyes were closed. What? Yujiro said in surprise before she gasped when Naruto opened his eyes. Instead of his blue with silver light eyes, his eyes were now yellow with toad-like pupils and orange pigmentation around his eyes. This is Pan's power? Grover shouted as him and every satyr and nature spirit instantly drew in closer towards Naruto despite the barrier. Sage mode complete, Naruto whispered as he walked towards Yujiro, who began a fierce barrage of swipes and thrusts with both of her hands in claw form. And 7, much to hers and the campers' surprise, Naruto effortlessly dodged and parried every attack with seemingly no effort and a calm expression on his face. This continued on with Yujiro no longer being able to get any ground against Naruto. His reaction time is way better now. He is almost predicting my attacks before I can make them. Yujiro, though, as Naruto swatted her wrists away with one hand and stepped forward inside of her guard. Gotta dodge, Yujiro thought as she narrowly tilted her head from Naruto's fist. There appeared to be a second delay as Naruto's first missed her face before Yujito's eyes widened in shock. Yujito's cheek appeared to cave into itself as if she was punched as she cried out in pain. Yujiro was then sent flying through several trees, crashing through them before she was launched into the ground several meters away. Her cheek had a streak of blood as Yujiro also spat out some blood as Naruto calmly walked towards her. That wasn't wind release or anything. It's almost like something bent out of his fist to hit me and send me flying. Yujiro, though, as she used her wrist to wipe the blood away. It's nature itself helping Naruto-kun. My creator, the Sage of Six Paths, mastered Senjutsu, or he melded it with his Rinnegan powers to become a legend. Naruto-kun seems to have mastered a form of Senjutsu that allows him to use the invisible power of nature to expand the range and power of his punches. Matatabi purred from inside her seal. So, I guess close combat is no longer great against you, huh? Yujiro joked as Naruto gave out a chuckle. You are powerful, no doubt, Yujiro, but I am not a pushover, Naruto told her as he leaned back to get back into a stance. Well then, shall we take off the kitty gloves? Yujiro asked, licking her lips as Naruto sent her a grin. Yujiro and Naruto eyes started to turn red and Naruto eyes started to have a slit that intersected with a cross from Sage mode. All of a sudden there was a flash of light as the barrier shattered and Artemis and Apollo appeared in their 18-year forms. That is enough, Artemis declared as Yujiro and Naruto disappeared, but Naruto remained in Sage mode. Lady Artemis, Lord Apollo. The camp chanted as everyone got onto their knees and bowed. Yujiro did a quick bow as Artemis gave her a nod of approval, but Naruto just pouted before his head was pat by his father. One hella a fight, my boy. Gotta say you made us rather shocked. Hermes was frothing at the mouth of using Sage Mode till I explained it was unrelated to Pan's domain. Apollo whispered as Naruto gave a sheepish smile. Anyway, Yujiro, that was one heck of a fight, Naruto told his fellow Jinchuriki cheerfully, who smiled warmly back. This made certain girls, Annabeth Selena, rather annoyed, while most of the boys were crying at Yujito's warm smile for the popular son of the twin archers. It sure was, Naruto. Here is your reward, Yujiro said sweetly, and before anyone could react she walked over to Naruto and leaned down to Naruto's level with her lips at Naruto's face level. You have grown, my little hero, Yujiro teased before she left a quick but warm kiss on Naruto's left cheek for a few seconds. It was coincidentally the opposite cheek Zoe kissed him on when he left the hunt. Everyone's jaw dropped, especially when there was a faint but notable red mark from Yujiro Light's lipstick now on Naruto's cheek. Naruto sputtered before his face turned completely red. Much to everyone's surprise, Naruto's blonde hair had now turned the same shade of red as his tips were, so it was not essentially spiky version of his mother's, and his golden eyes from Sage Mode had turned into the same silver as his mother. He essentially turned into a male version of his mother with red cheeks as his hormones drove him insane from the sweet contact with a very attractive blonde who was not related to him. How that's interesting. Perhaps it's hormones or just embarrassment that he temporarily took on Artemis traits more than mine, Apollo suggested before he gulped when he saw Artemis' eyes turn deadly shade of silver. Oh boy, Apollo mumbled as he quickly grabbed Artemis' shoulder to prevent her from strangling the confused blonde Kumo ninja. Lady Artemis, are you okay? You look rather flustered, Yujiro asked in confusion as Artemis' eyes flickered as she tried to keep herself from vaporizing, or at least attempting to vaporize the blonde for defiling her baby. Annabeth was frowning and was wondering why she was feeling annoyed, while Drew was grinning madly at Selena gripping her fist in anger. After a few seconds, Naruto's appearance returned to normal Sage Mode before he turned his head. Damn it, we were careless, Naruto hissed as he summoned his bow. What's wrong, Naruto? Artemis asked in worry. Percy, Naruto said simply as he took aim and shot a silver arrow into the distance. The silvery arrow was more a beam of moonlight than anything as it soared through the air, avoiding the trees and gliding towards its destination with pinpoint accuracy. Luke had Percy cornered with a scorpion crawling up his arm. Luke had managed to convince Percy to come with him into the wood during the last part of Naruto's fight with Yujiro. He claimed he had something important and Percy had trusted the older camper implicitly, only to find out Luke was the lightning thief and a traitor intending to help give rise to the Titans and destroy everything the gods created. Goodbye, Percy. Sadly, the Titan Lord has no use for a gamble like you, Luke said cruelly as the scorpion leapt at Percy, who had summoned Riptide in sword form. Luckily for Percy, who was going to get stung, a silver arrow soared past his ear and shot the scorpion in mid-air, making it hiss and dissolve instantly. What the hell? Luke shouted in surprise as he looked around. Only his deserved reputation as the best swordsman in the last 300 years saved him, as several arrows pelted him, which he deflected with Backbiter, the half-steel half-celestial bronze sword. You! Luke hissed in anger as Naruto leapt down from his tree with his eyes now blue with silver, showing he was no longer in Sage Mode. Percy, you alright? Naruto asked Percy, who let a sigh of relief. Yeah, thanks man. You saved me again, Percy said gratefully as Naruto nodded. Now, what the hell are you doing, Luke? Naruto asked coldly as his bow disappeared to be replaced with a silver sword as he pointed at Luke. Naruto. He is with the Titans and trying to bring down Olympus, Percy told him urgently as Naruto's eyes narrowed. I see. So, you were the one responsible for everything that happened this year, Naruto said in disappointment, making Luke hiss in anger. You are part of the reason the gods need to be destroyed. Most of us demigods cannot even get 2 minutes of our parents' time, while you have 2 gods who love and care for you all the time. The ultimate sins. Your parents are what is wrong with the gods. The biggest hypocrites if I ever saw one, Luke declared in hatred. Naruto, Percy said in worry as he watched Naruto clench his fist. So, you really will betray Olympus no matter what? I guess I have no choice, Naruto said with a hint of regret before he dashed forward. Despite Luke's own skill and weapon, He quickly was forced on the defensive from Naruto's unusual but precise style. Luke was forced to back up several times as Naruto left him no openings. Soon Naruto batted away his sword as he pointed his own sword at Luke's throat. "It's over. I am bringing you back to face justice," Naruto told him coldly as Luke gave him a demented style. "There is no justice with the gods in charge," Luke declared as Naruto swung his sword at Luke's legs. He intended to slash just enough to disable him and prevent him from running away. All of a sudden Luke, Naruto and Percy felt a powerful shudder in the air as time itself seemed to slow down. Naruto suddenly felt slightly sluggish as he struggled to slice Luke's legs. Luke grinned before he took the opportunity to jump away, swinging backbiter making a black ripple in the air. He walked through the ripple and vanished into the air. Naruto growled as his sword vanished in a puff of smoke. "Damn it, he got away," Naruto said in annoyance. "Naruto, what was that just now?" "It felt like all happiness was taken away instantly," Percy asked with a shudder. Naruto turned to him with a grim expression. "I believe your grandfather exerted his influence and made me weaken for a moment so his puppet could escape," Naruto informed him, making Percy frown. "Anyways Percy, I hope you enjoy your time with your mother this year," Naruto told him as they walked out of the forest. "How did you know?" Percy asked curiously. "Because mothers quite frankly are the best," Naruto said simply as he split off with Percy to go to Thalia Tree. He made sure to tell the daughter of Zeus about his reunion with Yujito, although he was confused when she glared at him during his accidental kiss, and telling her about Luke being a traitor. He held her as she cried and promised he would return next year. After saying his goodbyes with Selena biting her lip but giving him the briefest peck on the cheek, making him blush as he missed Selena's red face when she ran back. He didn't see his father hold back his mother or Zoe frowning before she grabbed his hand as he walked back to his family with a hunt. This is the end of this story. I hope you all like the video and subscribe to my channel. And please watch other playlists I make. And please help me grow my channel. And please recommend me any Naruto stories you all like to listen. I hope you all fine.